Cat Oriel, a breaking news reporter with Forbes. Today I'm here with Miss Andrea Hailey, the CEO of Voteorg. Andrea, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
So we've spoken a few times already, but for those that might not be familiar with your background, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and the history of Vote.org?
So I'm Andrea Hailey, the CEO of Vote.org, and my background's all in campaigns and elections and get out the vote efforts. I came to this work because I realized that I had born with more voting rights than I currently have. And so I really wanted to work in an area where we could help everyone else access the ballot box. And so at Vote.org, we use technology to break down barriers to voting. You can register to vote on our site. You can request your absentee ballot through the site. You can find your polling location and the rules and laws that you need to participate in all 50 states.
What specifically about the technology and your platform makes you so unique? What makes you guys, a leader in this space that makes it so much easier for people to register to vote? Is it the interface, the user experience? What specifically are you talking about when you say technology?
I think all of those things, and we really make it so that you can check your registration very quickly. It takes about 30 seconds to check your registration or get you through an actual registration process if you're not registered in about 2 minutes. And I think what's different is that about 65% of the people who use Vote.org are 35 and under. People are just coming to us on their phones, able to quickly participate. And the other thing we do is some of the language about the rules which you need to know to participate in elections can be really sound complicated or difficult. And we try to make sure that on our site, you can go to it and you can really distill and understand in just a few minutes exactly what you need when you show up at the polls. And we try to make sure that we take all of the work out of participation so that you have just a streamlined experience in getting to the ballot box.
Right, so it seems like all of those factors combined are what led you to be today one of the biggest sponsors and partners for National Voter Registration Day. So of course, that's what we're here to talk about. So tell me a little bit why we need such a thing as National Registration Voter Day. What is the history of this day and why is it necessary at all?
Well, in the United States, we're one of the only countries where you have a whole registration process you have to go through before the voting process. And so and they're not coupled together. So we really want to raise awareness around registration dates and deadlines. They're different in every single state. And days like National Voter Registration Day help us to get people thinking about how they're going to vote and how they're going to plan their vote very, very early. We have local elections coming up in several states. We also have a big presidential coming up in the next year. So I think that the big thing here is to make sure that to check your registration and make sure that you're registered so you can participate. But you have to do it with optimism and with joy and with excitement. So National Voter Registration Day gives us a moment to organize our friends and our family and our neighborhood and our cities to participate and to kind of look up those dates and deadlines and to get involved. It allows us to bring it to people's consciousness in a celebratory way.
How many people are you hoping sign up today and heading into the 2024 election overall?
We've already registered almost 200,000 people this year, so we're very excited. And as we go into the presidential election, we're pledging to register 8 million people. We registered in the 2020 presidential election around 4 million people. So we're doubling down on all of our efforts and scaling our program and getting out there and really making sure that people have everything they need to register, participate, and show up.
8 million. I had previously read that it was 6 million, so it's 8 million now, leading up to 2024. Wow, okay. So of those 8 million people that you're hoping to register, how many of those people do you think will actually go to the ballot box and, cast their vote next year? Like, how do you ensure that those people, not only are you registering them, but you're actually converting them to be voters?
That is an excellent question. We have tracked our conversion rates to who's showing it, who registers on vote.org and who actually shows up at the ballot box. And we have an 81% conversion rate, which is just astounding. And I even had to double check it and double look at that, because that is a very, very high number of people, registering and then actually showing up on election day. And what I think works, and why I think we've been successful, is that we're in constant communication with voters after they register. So we'll send you email alerts and text message alerts all the way up until your election to let you know early voting has started, or you need to get in your absentee ballot if you're voting by mail. And I think that continuous conversation really makes the difference, so that we're not just registering voters and then not communicating again until election day itself. And we're reminding people, now that you're registered, now it's time to make your plan. How are you going to vote? Are you going to vote in person? Are you going to vote by mail? What are you allowed to do in your state? Do you need your ID? Do you not? Like, all of those conversations are happening in the background, so that then by election day, we have, a large number of people actually participating.
Is there a particular group that you're trying to target with your efforts, or is it just anyone eligible to vote?
We're really laser focused on young people and on working in communities of color. So we want to put our budgets where traditionally both parties really don't invest as much in the way of resources. And so our job, I think, is to on-ramp people. We are the happiest when we're taking someone, when you turn 18 and we're on-ramping you into our democracy, because we know that if we can get someone to vote in 2 or more elections, that they're likely to become a lifelong voter, and that's the way in the long term to protect our democracy here in the United States.
Well, I saw this morning that the White House did release a proclamation on National Voter Registration Day. The Biden admin even, directed people to go visit vote.org. So do you feel like they've been a good partner in helping engage the youth and just everyone in general when it comes to voting registration and voting?
I think they care very much about safeguarding our democracy and access to the ballot box for all eligible Americans. And so I think that the democracy is front and center on what everyone's thinking about as they go into the next election cycle. And we're so happy to have support from leaders from every facet of government, whether it's in the White House down to local municipal leaders who tell people to get out there, get registered, have their voice heard, and go to vote.org for all of the information that you need. I think another big concern in our country right now is, where are you getting the sources of information about voting and about participating in elections? And at vote.org, we spend a lot of time making sure that voters have accurate information that they need to participate.
So what else is vote.org doing to secure voting rights protections across the country?
We do a lot of things. So first, we try to inspire people with a lot of excitement and optimism so that whatever barriers they are facing, they're willing to stay in there and overcome them, because we know that the way to push back is to have high participation in the United States. Then in what people call, we know there's no such thing as an off year at vote.org, but in what most people would call an off-year election cycle, we end up, unfortunately, having to spend a lot of time trying to fight voter suppression laws across the country. So we filed lawsuits in Texas, in Georgia, and in Florida, fighting back against some of the voter suppression laws that affect the users of vote.org the most. We won our case in federal court in Texas, and it's up on appeal now. So we're very excited about, the when I think that people understand. I think the court systems are serving as a check on some of the more egregious voter suppression laws that are out there. And then, we get back to work during the election cycle on registering voters, telling them what rules they have to follow in their state. And also, I think if a rule changes, or something, all of a sudden you can't use your student ID and you used to be able to, we do a lot of work having conversations with voters to try to update them on what has occurred in their state, because the last thing we'd want to see is somebody show up at the ballot box and then not be able to participate just because they didn't know something had changed. So when those rules do change, we and voter suppression laws pass, we try to make sure that we're alerting the public as to that, so they are armed with everything they need to continue to access the ballot box.
Do you think, given our current political climate, days like National Voter Registration Day are more important than ever?
Absolutely. They're definitely more important than ever before. It's time for us all to remember to check our registrations, to be the vote captain of our own lives, tell our friends and family to check their registrations, to get our employers to send out nonpartisan information about how, checking your registration and participating in the importance of civic participation. And ultimately, the other thing that's really important at Vote.org, we have that Election Day as a Holiday program at electionday.org, where we are advocating for everyone to have paid time off to vote until in this country, voting day is an actual holiday. Election Day is a holiday. So I think finding key moments where we can come together in community, celebrate wins, and participate and register and create fun and optimism around civic participation it's incredibly valuable and important. So happy to have a big celebratory moment today.
Well, that's the end of my questions. Do you have anything else you'd like to add? Any final call to actions?
I think the biggest call to action is look up what's happening in your state. Make sure that you stay informed. Go to vote.org, register to vote. After you do that, invite 3 other friends to register to vote and check their voter registration. And then after you do that, go to your company or your school or wherever you can to make sure that people are getting voting information out there and registration information out there. Remember, we had Taylor Swift post again today about vote.org and National Voter Registration Day. But remember that we're all influencers. So we all can influence everybody around us to participate and to register. And I think the other thing to say here is this is not a fire drill. There's no one organization or one person who can uphold an entire democracy. The only people who can do that are the individuals within this country. And one of the ways to do that is to make sure you're registered and show up to vote.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Andrea.
Thank you.